Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarajapacharya Ashtotara Sat Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarajapacharya Ashtotara Sat Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Varishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Sad Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopika Radha Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Bhagavad ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki Jai. Gavnamai Yamunamai ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. All glories to unlimited by millions of Vaishnavas. Nama Shri Harinama Sankirtan ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki Jai. ISKCON Vartamana Guru Vrinda ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Srila. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna everyone. Today we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga, text 47. 1 second. Yoginām api sarveṣāṁ. 647 we are reading. Yoginām api sarveṣāṁ mad-gatenāntar-ātmanā śraddhāvān bhajate yomām Same yukta-tamo mataḥ. So we'll go to word meanings. Yoginām of the yogis, api also, sarveṣāṁ all types of, mad-gatenā abiding in me always, thinking of me, antar-ātmanā within himself, śraddhāvān in full faith, bhajate renders transcendental loving service, yaha one who, mam to me the Supreme Lord, saha he, me by me, yukta-tamo the greatest yogi, mataḥ is considered. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Purport. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaja, which is used when in need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaja. Bhaja worships to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshipping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do so, he falls down. The Bhagavatam 11.5.3 confirms this as follows. Ya yesha purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishwaram na bhajante vijananti stane bristaha patanti adha. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the Premier Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. In this verse, also the word bhajanti is used. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The word avijananti used in this verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam is also found in Bhagavad Gita, avijananti ma mudaha. Only the fools and rascals deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and word worship. The accumulation of all kinds of yoga practices lies in Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of Bhakti in Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are progressions toward the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma Yoga without fruitive results is the beginning of this path. When Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and then renunciation, the stage is called Jnana Yoga. When Jnana Yoga increases in meditation on the Super Soul by different physical processes and the mind is on him, it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of God at Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of the eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name, Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he is surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of Himalaya, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. It is by the great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of the Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shyamasundara, who is as beautifully colored as cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower-garlanded. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahma Jyotir. He incarnates in different forms such as Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he descends like a human being as the son of Mother Yashoda. And he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. This stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga as confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tato guru tasyete katita hi arthaha prakasyanti mahatmana. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Saiteshwara Upanishad 6.23. Bhaktir asya bhajanam tad iham mutropati nairashenu musim manakalpam etad eva naishkarmyam. Bhakti means devotional service to the Lord, which is free from the desire for material profit, either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is the purpose of Naishkarmya. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.15. These are some of the means for performance of the Bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of the yoga system. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavad Gita and the matter of Dhyana. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamatyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakamadam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Shri Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanustuti Devi Pranama Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to once again study and try to understand in my little ways of Prabhupada's purport. And yeah, it is it helps me to learn and appreciate Srila Prabhupada's purport. So I hope I will be able to serve you by giving some insights from Srila Prabhupada, this purport and some other following points. So here is the chapter titled Dhyana Yoga, and we are finishing with the Prabhupada quoting Krishna quoting that all the yogis who have full faith and who is rendering transcendental devotional service, they are united with him, and he is the best yogi. Although there is the description of the Ashtanga yogi, but Krishna is not referring to the physical practices of the yoga system, but he is directing Arjuna towards the transcendental loving service unto him. So in the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada talks about the bhaja. So bhaja is worship, and Prabhupada says that it does not denote to the word worship, but it denotes to the word service. And Prabhupada gives a very clear, clear explanation so that we can understand very well. He says that worship actually means just to adore or to show respect, but service is rendered with love and faith. And that kind of service is rendered only to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but no one else. Because when we come in touch with Krishna, it's not just we stop at the level of adoring or just showing some respect, but actually we will be engaged in loving devotional service. So this is the end of the section 1, which is the Karma Yoga. So we see the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, and the first 6 chapters are considered as the Karma Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters are called the Bhakti Yoga. And the last 6 chapters from 13 to 18 is put under the section of the Jnana Yoga. So the Bhakti Yoga is well protected. Prabhupada gives an example of how there is a diamond and it's put in a box and it's well protected. So on the top is the Karma Yoga and on the bottom is the Jnana Yoga and in between is the Bhakti Yoga. So when he's opening the section of the Bhakti Yoga with this shloka, already it is a foundation for the next section. So here he's saying, who is a real yogi? That one who has faith and one who is engaged in the devotional service. So he's using the word bhajate. And Prabhupada is also making it very, very clear that the one who engages in devotional service, he is actually the yogi. So in this particular chapter, we have also seen how Krishna talks about different kinds of Ashtanga yogas. So the Ashtanga yoga that is prescribed for the beginners is yoga aruksha. And then there where they practice niyamas, yamas and niyamas and vasanas, and slowly they come to the stage of steadiness. And the next stage for the advanced people, they practice yoga rudha stage, where they actually start meditating, dhyana, and then they finally leading into samadhi, like complete fixation on this person. And I was thinking about, so if this is about Jnana Yoga or Jnana Yoga, so why is this put under the section of the Karma Yoga, like in the first section of the Karma Yoga? So here we see there is a progression of the Karma Yoga and then Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness. And Krishna is telling how to achieve Nishkarma Karma Yoga, which is nothing but the Bhakti Yoga. We have to see the audience who Krishna is addressing. Krishna is not addressing a monk or a yogi, but he is addressing Arjuna, who is a practical man. He has family, he has responsibilities, he has a career, and Krishna himself is asking him to come onto the battlefield and fight. So, and this was the questions actually Arjuna asked in the 3rd chapter. On one side, you are asking me to engage in the warfare, and on the other side, you are asking me to engage, to accept the path of the renunciation, and how does they both go together? So Krishna is telling that by engaging in, by doing according to my instructions, you will actually lead to the Bhakti Yoga. And this is actually Nishkarma Karma Yoga. So here also we see in the very second shloka of this chapter, 6.2, Krishna talks about the difference between, what is the difference between sannyas and yoga. So sannyas means one who gives up the taste for the sense enjoyment. And yeah, so when the karma yoga, in the karma yoga, they work and they give the results to Krishna. When that is fructified or that is matured by knowledge, what happens? They stop even and they renounce even those results of their fruits. It's not just offering the fruits itself, but they understand that, by knowledge they come to understanding that it is everything for how do you say it? Sorry. Like they give up this thirst, I have to work. That taste or that thirst for the sense objects is also gone. This is achieved by knowledge. But whereas in the yoga, one actually gets fixed his mind, complete fixation of his mind on the super soul. So it is a progression of the karma yoga. When added a little bit of knowledge, then it becomes gyan. And when it's more matured, and when they follow the process of the ashtanga, they become more mature, and then completely their minds are fixed on the super soul, and which is leading them to the bhakti yoga. So, but here Arjuna cannot give up the work itself. Krishna is asking him to fight. But what is Krishna telling? You fight, but think of me. So just by doing his duty and thinking about Krishna, he's giving up that thirst or that passion that of the sense objects. So he is developing this knowledge, and at the same time, by fixing his mind, he is engaged as a yogi. So that's why Prabhupada says in the 6.2 that real sannyas or yoga, linking oneself with the Supreme, he renounces his desire from sense gratification. So a Krishna conscious person is both sannyasi at the same time yogi, when he is completely fixed on Krishna. So the real aim of life is to give up all self-satisfaction and prepare to satisfy the Supreme. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful point at the end of the purport of the 6.2. He says that no one can be on the platform of inactivity. Inactivity is not possible. So they have only two options. Either you act for your own self-satisfaction, or you act for the Supreme Lord's satisfaction. So when one gives up this selfish desire for their own sense gratification, and they turn towards Krishna, it is becoming nishkama yoga, nishkama karma yoga. So which is nothing but the bhakti yoga. So it is rightly fitted into the karma yoga section, and it is also leading us to the bhakti yoga. Now here there is an emphasis on performing devotional service. So as how Prabhupada is saying, this is the service attitude is an intricate nature of the jiva. In the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, we see how Prabhupada gives different examples. The nature of the water is to be having liquidity. Liquidity is the nature of the water. And we see the heat and light are the intricate nature of the fire. And similarly, the conditioned soul's intricate nature is to engage in the service. So this is actually the swarup, the actual identity of the living entity, to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everyone, and Prabhupada gives a very elaborate explanation in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita about what is this service attitude in the Sanatana Dharma section. So he says that everyone is engaged in various capacities of service. Someone is serving their husband, someone is serving their wife, someone is serving their parents, someone is serving the government, the government is serving the people. So in whatever the ways or means of work is carried out, there is always this aspect of service is involved. But the same service, if we are turning towards Krishna, that becomes That is becomes the real devotional service. So, but to engage in devotional service, here we have another word. It is called śraddhāvān. Śraddhāvān means having faith. So to perform such a devotional service, someone needs to have faith. So having faith in devotional service is very important. So in the Nectar of Devotion, it is said, Adho Shraddha Tato Sadhu Sangho Atha Bhajana Kriya Tato Anatta Nivritti Syat Tato Nishta Ruchis Tata Atha Shaktis Tato Bhavas Tata Premanu Tanjati Sadhakanam Ayam Premana Prarubhave Bhavat Kramaha. So here the process of the jiva's progression from the beginning faith is described. So in the beginning, one may have a little desire for self-realization. So when they have a little desire, when they come in touch with persons who are spiritually elevated, their faith is strengthened slowly. And then with the strengthening of the faith and by the association with the good association of the spiritually elevated people, they start performing devotional service slowly. And then there will be initiation from the spiritual master. And once one is spiritual, one has taken spiritual initiation, one starts serving under the instruction of the spiritual master. So again, there is higher devotional service. It's the beginning of the devotional service begins by working under the instruction of the spiritual master. And slowly, by working under the direction of the spiritual master, one gives up all material attachment and attains steadiness, which is the nishta. And they cross over all the material attachment, which is anatta nivritti. And by performing again, continuing in the devotional service, they acquire taste for hearing. And then they develop taste and they developed constant attraction. And then slowly it develops into the bhava, which is a preliminary love of Godhead. And finally it leads to the prema, the complete love of Godhead, where actually the mature loving devotional service begins. And this loving devotional service is performed in the Lord's abode itself. So from the beginning of the living entity coming in touch with the bhakti yoga to the mature stage, this shraddha is carried out. My teacher gives a very beautiful example. It's like a river. So when you are walking into the river, at the bank, it's very shallow. But as you go deeper, as you go further along, it goes deeper. So the shraddha, we are have all the stages. So when one is full, complete shraddha, this śraddhāvān here, he's saying, Krishna is telling śraddhāvān that one who is completely surrendered, who has complete understanding of this shraddha, then they will be able to go much more deeper and they will be completely engaged in devotional service. So, and then Prabhupada says that he's creating all these centers for Krishna consciousness for people to get some faith. Even if someone walks into the temple and they don't have any kind of faith on Krishna, but just coming to ISKCON, by just coming to Krishna conscious centers, they get association of devotees and they get a little faith in those associations. And so if people come with faith, their faith is enhanced. If people come with no faith, still there is some seed, there's seedling is dropped into their hearts. The faith is developed. And Prabhupada is also talking about how this can, when one has implicit faith in both Lord and the spiritual master, the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically get revealed. So in this process, both the spiritual master and the Krishna are two parallel lines that is continuously going around, and which helps us to come to Krishna and become the yogi as how Krishna wanted us to be. And the third paragraph of this shloka purport, Prabhupada talks about the accumulation of all kinds of yoga practices that lies in Bhakti Yoga. This is actually Srila Prabhupada's Bhakti's elevator, because here Prabhupada is analyzing this particular chapter of how different stages of different yoga systems are actually present in Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhupada gives an example of the Himalayas. Himalayas is the world's highest mountain, and then Mount Everest is the highest peak. So if someone speaks about Mount Everest, it is understood that it's part of the Himalayas. So if one is in Bhakti Yoga, it is understood. It has to be understood that all that the yoga process are accumulated in this process. For that, we will take some scriptural references from Srimad-Bhagavatam. In Srimad-Bhagavatam, 1:2-7, it is said, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnana Asu Vairagyam Jnanina Chadyat Ahayitukim. By rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one immediately acquires causeless devotion, causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So how do we understand this, that someone gets causeless knowledge and detachment from the world? So Prabhupada talks in that particular purport saying that Bhakti is the topmost of all the transcendental activities. And it's the most sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are very much, and it's easy for the neophytes to take up to this process. And Prabhupada also talks about knowledge and detachment are the two important factors on this path of the transcendental knowledge, which is leading us to the perfect knowledge. So why this perfect knowledge? Because it gives us the understanding of what is this material world all about and the spiritual world, and helps us to understand who it belongs to, right? And detachment from what? From the material affection, the disease of this material attraction and affection what we have for this material world is also removed when we have the proper knowledge. And these two parts are present in the transcendental knowledge. And at the same time, it is giving the attachment to the spiritual activities. So because it is leading one to attach to the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And again in Srimad-Bhagavatam 1:6-35, Narada Muni talks about, even if someone practices yoga system, yes, definitely there will be a relief from all kinds of desire and lust, but they wouldn't have satisfaction. Satisfaction will come only when one engages in the loving service of the Mukunda. Why? Yes, in the yoga system, the senses are controlled, which is a preliminary aspect of any kind of yoga system. Even in the Bhakti yoga system, we are focused on controlling our mind and senses. But that is not our goal. And although they have control, still these senses need engagement. And that is facilitated in the Bhakti Yoga. I want to read from 9th Canto, chapter 4, 18-20. Taking an example of Ambarish Maharaj, how he has engaged all his senses. And there's a perfect engagement of all his senses. He's not a yogi, he's not a jnani, he's not a yogi, but he's a Bhakti yoga person. He's a spiritualist, Bhakti yoga spiritualist. So we want to see how he is engaging his mind and his senses in devotional service. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo, vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane. Karo hare mandira majjana dishu, shrutim chakra achyuta sat katodayi, mukunda lingaya darshane drusho, tad briti krata sparshe anga sangamam. grihanam cha tat pada saroja saurabhyai Srimad Tulasya Rasam Tad Arpite Pado Hare Kshetra Padanusparshane Siro Rishikesha Pada Vivandane Kamam Cha Dasya Natu Kama Kamaya Yato Uttama Shloka Janashraya Rati. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna. So his mind is engaged in meditating upon Krishna. Then we see different senses, how are they engaged. His words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples, Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulasi offered to the Lord. He engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasadam. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord. His head in bowing down before the Lord. And all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional services, in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. See how he is fitting in the proper definition of how Prabhupada is giving to 6.2 purport. That, everyone has either has to work for Supreme Lord's satisfaction or for self-satisfaction. Just by Ambarish engaging all his mind and senses in various engagements of devotional activities, he's completely has come to the stage of sannyas and yogi. And this is the yogi that Krishna is talking about. And we have also the examples of Vishwamitra Muni or Saubhari Muni, where they have practiced so much sense control and mind control, but they couldn't withstand the material energy's force, and they eventually have fallen down. And that is the difference between a bhakti yogi and the ordinary jnana yogi or ashtanga yogi. And here Prabhupada also gives in the 4th paragraph, where Prabhupada talking about ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shyamasundar. He's giving the description of different qualities and attributes of Krishna, that how we have to be attracted to. And then Prabhupada has created so many temples and centers where deity worship is very prominent, and where every day we come for the Mangalarti, every day we come for the Guru Puja and Darshanarti, where we are actually taking darshan of the Lord. We are putting our mind and senses in absorbing, trying to absorb our mind and senses in the form of the Lord. And this is so much personal. It is not sitting somewhere laying down some kusha grass or sitting with half closed eyes and trying to concentrate on the super soul. But here is a complete description and the facility for us to practice this bhakti yoga. So this process is super easy for us. So Krishna consciousness is perfectly arranged for us to practice bhakti. And we also see from Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.7.10, where it talks about those advanced devotees. Atma ramasya munaya nirgante api urukrame kurvanti ahituki bhaktihatam buddha guno harihi. So here, all different varieties of Atmaramas who take pleasure in self-realization. They're much more higher on the level, more than the materialistic people, who have freed from all kinds of material bondage. And they also desire to render devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. Why? Because the Supreme Lord possesses transcendental qualities, and therefore they attract everyone even the liberated soul. So here it says Urukrama. His activities cannot be compared to anyone else. And these are, it's only to the Lord himself. This particular aspect is given only to the Supreme Lord. And some of the example described in 1.7.10 purport is great sages such as 4 bachelor devotees, Sanaka Sanatan, Sananda, Sanat Kumar, were attracted by the fragrance of the flowers and tulsi leaves, anointed with the pulp of the sandalwood offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Sukadeva Goswami was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. And Sukadeva Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, but he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves the quality of his pastimes has nothing to do with material affinity. And similarly, the young gopis of the Vrindavana, they are attracted by the bodily features of the Lord. And Rukmini was just hearing the transcendental qualities of the Lord and she got attracted. And so the Lord has this quality of being super attractive. And the Krishna consciousness is arranged for us to come to this attraction, leaving the attraction for the material world and material affection of, for all kinds of sense gratification, and really come to this stage. So Krishna is telling Arjuna to perform this kind of yoga, to put his mind and attention on him who is all attractive. And Prabhupada is also leading by example how he is a yogi. I was reading Srila Prabhupada Leela-Brita. In the beginning days of Prabhupada going to America, Prabhupada just moved to Bowery. And Prabhupada talks about putting different places in the categories of mode of passion, mode of goodness, and mode of ignorance. So Prabhupada talks that mode of goodness is in the forest, mode of passion is in the city, and mode of ignorance is in the brothels and the liquor shops. And he also lists that Bowery is also the place of mode of ignorance. But what is Prabhupada doing in the Bowery? Prabhupada is translating Srimad-Bhagavatam throughout the night, and in the morning he's taking Sanskrit classes for the people who are coming there. Isn't he is a yogi? Like, because he has Shraddha, he is rendering this transcendental devotional service. For him, external things didn't really, although it's in the mode of ignorance, still Prabhupada is a transcendental yogi there. Prabhupada also explains in the first canto how there is a difference between different kinds of birds, the crows and swans. The crows, they're attracted to the garbage, and the swans, they don't even go to the garbage. They want to live in clean waters. So this is just a Hamsa. But Prabhupada is not even on the level of the Hamsa, but he is Paramahamsa. But still, he chose that place because he wants to preach Krishna consciousness. And he is a perfect yogi who is leading us, who is intimately united with Krishna and Krishna's mission. And as the marathon, December marathon is going on, especially for the Bhagavad Gita distribution, here Prabhupada also writes in this purport that, some people, avajananti, the mudas, who they don't, although they are informed about God, they are not worshipping God. So they will fall down. And what are they doing? They're writing commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. So in this marathon, we can take an inspiration from Srila Prabhupada to distribute the Bhagavad Gita as it is, so that this real knowledge is going to people and it's reaching to people, and they can come to a right understanding and they can become yogis, the actual yogis, the Bhakti yogis. And in the Garbhastuti prayers of the 10th canto, 10 to 37, Srila Prabhupada defines what is Samadhi. Of course, in various places, Prabhupada talks about Samadhi in different ways, but because this is the marathon time, I thought it would be such an inspiration for us to take this book distribution and understanding the importance of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So I just wanted to quote this particular part of the purport of 10 to 37. Srila Prabhupada writes definition of Samadhi. One should engage in practical service to Lord. Krishna conscious movement, all our activities are concentrated upon distributing Krishna literature. Approaching any person and induce him to read literature so that in future he may also become a devotee. Such activities fully remind of Lord's lotus feet. By fully concentrating on distributing books for Krishna, one is fully absorbed in Krishna, and this is Samadhi. So if we can take this inspiration from Srila Prabhupada, we can be intimately united with Krishna in the yoga, and we can practice bhakti with this faith and engage in this transcendental devotional service. And I also read one quote of Prabhupada. He says that if someone reads one verse or one sentence or one word of these books, he will be benefited eternally. And I was thinking, one word? I mean, it was very intriguing to my mind. I was thinking that how can one word change one person's life? Because these words are not material words. This is transcendental knowledge. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayato mahita bhayat. So these words are protecting us from gliding down into the most abominable species of life, where there is a constant repeated birth and death. And life, this is the only way we can come and practice Bhakti Yoga and elevate ourselves to the highest platform. So we just want to wrap up. So we have seen the importance of how the shloka is actually leading to the next section of the Bhakti Yoga. Emphasis was made on bhaja, which is the service, which is the loving service towards the Supreme Lord, but not just the adoration. And Prabhupada is talking about creating shraddha in people by creating so many Krishna conscious centers all around the world. So people who come with faith, people who don't come with faith, still have this opportunity to come in association of devotees, and then this faith is established in their hearts more strongly. And Prabhupada's elevator of the Bhakti elevator, where there are different yoga systems, but Bhakti Yoga is the accumulation of everything. And we have seen some scriptural evidences how when one practices Bhakti Yoga, there's no need to go and search for knowledge or detachment. It's all part of the Bhakti Yoga. And also we have seen the example of Ambarish Maharaj, how he's engaging his mind and senses, where he's creating engagement is for mind and senses, and he's not disturbed at any moment, and he's able to easily give up all material desires. And the same thing Prabhupada is asking us to do. And this comes by the parallel lines of following the Guru and following Krishna's instruction. And Srila Prabhupada is leading by an example how he's a transcendental yogi in the midst of the Bauri, where it's full of mode of ignorance, but still he's sitting there and transcribing Srimad-Bhagavatam. So we learn the inspiration for marathon, so we can also take up this mission of propagating this Bhagavad Gita as it is, and to present people the genuine commentary and help them to come to this Bhakti Yoga and help them to unite with Krishna, how we are trying our best to get united with Krishna. I end here. Any corrections, questions, or comments, I would be very happy to answer. Thank you so much for this opportunity again. Please forgive me for all my shortcomings.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions, you can write on the chat, or you can unmute and ask. I have one question.
Yes, Mataji.
So you spoke about how the development of faith is like going into a river from the bank and going further and further in and getting deeper and deeper.
Yes,
But in our development of faith, there is some distinction, because from Shraddha to Nishtha, we cross through anartha-nivritti. So how is our development of faith affected by anartha-nivritti?
How is our faith affected by anartha-nivritti?
Like, because in that verse, Nishtha is a type of faith that comes after anartha-nivritti.
Yeah. So I hope I can give a proper my understanding, but you can correct me always. So initially, it's like a very fragile creeper of the bhakti. So when we are able to protect this creeper from all kinds of weeds and all kinds of material attachments and all kinds of, and this comes only when we are in association of devotees, and if we can work under the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, because he is the gardener who can protect this faith, who can protect this creeper, tiny, fragile creeper. So as we pass through the anartha-nivritti, this faith of this bhakti creeper is strengthening. Its roots are getting strengthened. So there comes a steady bhakti, steadiness. So that is the nishtha stage where the faith is more strengthened and all the anarthas are removed. So we will be able to execute devotional service on a much better platform with much better understanding how it is anyabhilashita sunyam. So we will be able to progress towards the anyabhilashita sunyam, leaving all behind the material desires, whether it will be mental speculation or whether it is material desires. So this faith, although we have it, it can be protected only in the association of the devotees. And Prabhupada also writes in the Bhagavatam 3:25-25, Satam Prasanga Mama Virya Sanvito. In that particular verse, Prabhupada talks about one cannot make any kind of devotional progress without association of devotees, although they might be understanding everything very theoretically. Because these devotees are the Guru, he knows how to protect us. And we are not aware. And what is the qualification of the Guru? In the 11th canto, we see the Guru has analyzed the whole scriptural knowledge by deliberation. At the same time, he has a practical understanding of it. So that's why he will be able to offer us the practical solutions, how to protect this faith. I'm sorry if I don't know if I served you well, but that's my understanding.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay, I don't see anyone else coming forward with anything to say.
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Bhagavad Gita reading. Thank you again for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.